Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I am up on my roof here in Seattle on beautiful Lake Union. It's a really nice day again. And today we're going to be making a sloppy Caesar salad. So I'm starting with a little head of romaine lettuce, which is, your typical Caesar salad thing. This version of the salad, I started making a couple months ago because I was, normally what I'll do when I make a salad like this, a Caesar salad, is I will coddle some eggs, so I'll boil them for about a minute, just so that they're very, very gently hearted on the outside, but they're still very runny in the middle. And that sort of becomes the base for the dressing. Um, when I was making this a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, I accidentally overboiled my eggs by a few minutes, so they came out kind of more sort of, medium boiled, soft boiled to medium boiled, as opposed to just really barely coddled. And when that happens, they get a kind of sort of fudgier texture. And they're definitely chunkier. And I actually really liked the way they came out in the salad that time. And so I decided to kind of lean into that and make like an extra sort of chunky Caesar dressing as opposed to coddled eggs. I've intentionally boiled my eggs for 4 minutes. All right, so I've got my romaine. I'm separating it. I'm leaving the leaves whole. I'm going to wash them. Okay, and then because I'm on my roof, I'm just going to dump the water. And then we'll spin this out. It is really important that you have like completely dry lettuce when you're making the salad. And the reason is because, of course, lettuce, all leaves have this sort of natural kind of waxy cuticle on them well, when the plant is alive, it prevents them from getting waterlogged whenever it rains on them. Plants don't want their leaves to soak up water every time it rains, so they have this waterproof coating on them. And so what happens is if the lettuce leaves are still wet when you're trying to make your salad, the water runs right off that coating, and so any salad dressing that you stick on there binds to the water, which then runs right off the lettuce leaves, and so you end up with dressing all the way at the bottom of the bowl and a pile of undressed leaves at the top if you don't properly dry your lettuce. All right, so we got our dried lettuce here. Now, so the way I do this salad, you don't even have to make a separate salad dressing. Okay, we're gonna put it all in one big bowl right here, and then I'm just gonna start constructing everything on top. So I got a little garlic. I'm gonna microplane that on top. And at this stage, it doesn't really matter if everything is kind of clumpy or not. Like we're not making nachos here where everything has to have the same amount of everything. It's all right if it's kind of things are kind of just plopped on top for now. We're gonna mix it all up later. All right, so I've got my eggs. So these are eggs that I just boiled for 4 minutes. When I boil my eggs, what I do is I get about an inch of water boiling in the bottom of a saucepan, and then I gently lower my eggs in on top of that. The eggs don't have to be submerged. The steam is actually what's going to cook them. And then I cover it. And I start my timer. It's a really nice method. I prefer doing it over, fully submerging them to boil because, well, first of all, you don't need to use as much water. It also means you can cook as many eggs as you want. You don't need them to be completely submerged. As long as your water sort of maintains a full boil and fills that pot with hot steam under the lid, your eggs are all going to cook in there. So it's a good method. I prefer it. The other reason I like to drop them into boiling water is because, into steaming water is because the main factor that affects how easily they're going to peel is basically just how hot the water is when you start. All right, so I got my eggs in here. I'm going to break one open just to show you what the texture is inside. So they are kind of hard, like you get these chunky bits of white on the outside, but the yolks are still pretty much completely liquid in there, and that's what's going to form sort of the basis of our dressing. All right, so we got our eggs. Next, I'm going to do some anchovies. So this is what I'm calling. I don't know. I was debating whether to call this a sloppy Caesar or just an anchovy salad, because one of the big things that I like to do here is use a ton of anchovies. I'm a big fan of anchovies. My daughter Alicia is a big fan of anchovies, and so whenever a recipe calls for anchovies, we will double or triple it. So I'm going to use a ton of anchovies here. Chop them up, not too fine. Like I'm not looking for a paste. I actually want some kind of chunks of anchovy in there. Okay. And if you don't like anchovies, then pick a different salad, I'd say. By the way, you can see some bridges and houses behind me. I get to look at the Space Needle in downtown over there. Jesse can take a look at it for you. It's a nice view, right? Seattle's pretty. All right. Anchovies, eggs. Let's do some Dijon mustard. I'm just going to kind of dollop this on here. Probably about a tablespoon or so total. So let's get rid of that eggshell. If you want the recipe, full written recipe for this, by the way, you can find it on my Patreon page. I'll leave a link below. You can, of course, follow along. It's pretty simple. But I'll leave a full recipe with all the sort of tested and validated amounts. Validated, is that the right word? Verified amounts. All right, so Dijon mustard. I've got some Parmesan cheese. I'd say a lot of Parmesan cheese. All right. We're going to do lemon. I'm going to do a little bit of the zest. Maybe half a lemon's worth of zest. And then a full lemon worth of juice. This is a fun one to do with kids also because, you know, it requires no precision and not much care. You can just toss things in a bowl. All right, we'll do a little pinch of salt. Not too much salt because we have quite a few sort of salty ingredients in here. Some black pepper. Olive oil. So a couple tablespoons of olive oil. And finally, the day that I was making the salad, I didn't have Worcestershire sauce on hand, so I used some fish sauce, and I really liked the way that worked. So I started making my Caesar salads with a little bit of fish sauce as well. Just a little dash. All right. And so at this point, you can do it with a fork if you want, fork and spoon. I prefer to just go right in with my hands. And so I am going to kind of try and crush up those eggs a little bit and kind of form almost a dressing. You know, the idea is that you want those egg yolks and olive oil and lemon juice and everything in here to kind of emulsify and form a sort of creamy dip almost, you know? All right. And then the way I like to serve this salad is I'll have people, I like to serve the leaves whole, you know, and then you eat it Julia style with your fingers, where you just kind of reach in and grab the lettuce leaves, almost like, you know, like you're eating nachos. Just back to the nacho analogy. All right, get our chunks on there. Of course, if you want to go fork, you can. Oops, we forgot the croutons here. Let's toss the croutons in some of those juices. Let's say we didn't forget them. That we intended to do this. Now we're going to dress our croutons separately to get all the remaining stuff in there. And let's finish it off with a little more Parmesan. All right. Those croutons, by the way, all they were is some sourdough that I tore up, tossed with a little olive oil, and then put in a 325-degree oven, probably about 15-20 minutes until they were nice and brown and dry. All right. So the way I like to eat it, leaf at a time, and just kind of scoop up some stuff. If you're a fan of anchovies, and you're a fan of eggs, and you're a fan of Parmesan cheese and mustard and garlic, and croutons, and olive oil and lemon and romaine lettuce, I think you will like this. Do you want to try some?
Sure.
All right. That is, sorry, I'm going to eat one more bite. That is my my sloppy Caesar salad. I hope you like it. If you want the full recipe, you can find it on my Patreon. I'll leave a link down below. Yeah, until next time, guys, gals, non-binary pals, I'll see you around. Bye.